It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Good morning. Welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News on this, the 28th day of March, 2023. It's a Tuesday, coming to you from Central Virginia area. We have a couple news stories this morning, which we're going to get to, a number of other things to discuss. The lead story this morning is a new cruise line Americans can't book. Story 2 today is sees 20 states in 60 days. That sounds pretty good. The Carnival Valor rescues 3, and passport processing times are up. Today, folks, is Eat an Eskimo Pie Day. I can deal with that. I enjoy an Eskimo pie on occasions. And I'm not a huge ice cream person, but every now and then I do like an Eskimo pie. If you're listening via the podcast, welcome aboard. You can always access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net, or wherever you get your podcasts from. All the big guys just search for Travel and Cruise Industry News. Up pops the Fat Travel Guy. If you're listening via the podcast and you ever want to jump over into the video feed for any pictures or clips that we may be using on today's show, there's always a link in the description of the podcast to do just that. So I'm in the process, folks. Well, a couple bits of news from a personal standpoint before we get on with today's show. First of all, I talked with my doctor several times yesterday. We went over all the numbers, my retesting yesterday morning. And his feelings are that if I get through tomorrow without any setbacks or symptoms creep up, I'm in the clear and I can end my self-inflicted quarantine. So that's a good sign. Needless to say, I'm feeling, again, much better even today than yesterday. And boy, what a difference 48 hours has made. Which gets me to the other thing I just want to make mention of. I'm in the process, folks. I've been so far behind on my blog posts. I started working on a blog post today, which I've entitled COVID Complacency. And quite frankly, folks, I don't mind, on what's going to be in the post. Those of you that know me have known that once I started cruising last year and was able to do 21 cruises in 2022, I got very comfortable on cruise ships very quickly. So much so that, even in the early days of this, when we were masking and we were social distancing and sailing at 20% capacity and all those things back early in the year last year, I was probably one of the first people that got comfortable enough on cruise ships to do away with the mask early on. I was never as comfortable on airplanes. You guys all know that story. But I was very comfortable on the cruise ships. So it was almost a shock to my system when I got home from this last cruise, and in my continuing efforts to protect my family, I tested positive. That wasn't the whole story, however. I had still become very complacent in my personal ways of doing things and the ways that I went about my cruising life. So not only was I totally shocked that I came a positive result, but within literally 12 hours, I went from a hacking cough to drastically ill. Over the past 3 years now, I've almost died a total of 4 times. Twice due to chemo and the complications from my side effects, my breathing issues, the respiratory collapse that I went through. The other 2 times was Friday and Saturday nights this past week. I thought it was over both nights. So imagine my surprise when, again, on the next day that I could test again, that I tested negative yesterday morning. I was almost as shocked as I was when I tested positive, and even more shocked at how quickly I've bounced back. I felt so much better yesterday. I feel so much better again today. Yes, you can still hear the hoarseness in my voice. My breathing is not back 100%. Although, if you'll notice, I'm not using the oxygen today. Again, I did not use the oxygen during the show yesterday. It's right here in case I need it. But that's, again, a good sign. That also proves to me that even though, yes, I had the complacency that I probably shouldn't have had over COVID this past year, that in fact, by my taking all the jabs and the 3 boosters that I've had, and as soon as the next booster is available, which for me will be in the early fall, I will take the 4th booster with a flu shot. But I survived it, folks. I didn't kick the bucket. I didn't go in the hospital, although it was very close, and my doctor was literally staying on top of it every few hours to make sure that it wasn't time to hospitalize me and look at ventilators and all those kind of things. So for all of you people out there that are saying, oh, COVID's nothing, it's like a cold. Yeah, it's like a cold for some people. It's not for others. I was almost one of the others. So it's just my thoughts. I'm going to share that in a blog post on how I feel about this past 10 days. So, all right. I'll be back with today's news after this.
Do you have a bad back, bad hips, bad knees, or any other mobility issues? Think about Scootaround. For scooters, walkers, wheelchairs, even oxygen needs, delivered right to your cabin. Scootaround for all your mobility needs on your upcoming cruise.
Okay, guys, see, the music makes me feel better today. So that's a definite improvement. All right, we'll be back with the news after a quick word from one of our network sponsors. Today's lead story, and this is a somewhat unusual story, folks, I have to admit. A new cruise line will begin home porting from Port Canaveral in May, but Floridians and most U.S. citizens cannot set sail. Marella Discovery will depart from the world's busiest passenger cruise port for the first time on May the 7th, but the UK-based cruise line is not easy for U.S. citizens to book, as it is geared primarily for British holiday seekers. Marella Cruises is repositioning Marella Discovery to Port Canaveral for 6 months beginning in May, but despite being the busiest passenger cruise port in the world and a great departure point for cruisers from the United States, most U.S. cruisers can't book it. It brings me back to the old adage from Hawaii. What was that? Hawaii 5-0, not Hawaii 5-0. One of the Hawaii shows. Book it, Dano. Well, we can't book it. And the reason is because Marella Cruises operated almost exclusively for British and European vacationers, and the most common bookings for the line, including the sailings for Marella Discovery, are package options that include airfare and options for hotel nights for the full travel arrangements. Because the only available flights are from United Kingdom airports and a valid UK address is necessary for booking, this makes it nearly impossible for U.S. cruisers to book one of these cruises. And something tells me, folks, that's got to be changed before too long. There's too much in the American market to help Marella and other European cruises. Marella Cruises first intended to begin sailings from Port Canaveral back in 2021, but postponed these plans due to the pandemic. And finally, the ship is ready to sail. Marella Discovery will offer a variety of unique itineraries from Port Canaveral, all but one of which are 7-night sailings. The very first cruise, departing May 7th, is the Sunshine State and Sands itinerary, visiting Amber Cove, Grand Turk, and 2 ports in Florida, Key West and Miami. Similar itineraries in the coming months may substitute Bimini for Grand Turk, and of course, itineraries are always subject to change. The American Dream itinerary is another 7-night round trip that visits Charleston in New York, as well as Freeport in the Bahamas. The Floridian Favorites itinerary spends the week visiting top Florida destinations like Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, as well as Bimini or Nassau, depending on the departure dates. A special interest is the 14-night autumn sailing, a round-trip East Coast adventure, deporting, Port Canaveral, October 22nd, just in time for fall foliage. That cruise will visit destinations, in New England and Canada, including Newport, Bar Harbor, Boston, St. John, Sydney, and Halifax. That was a cough, folks. Sorry about that. The cough obviously is still there. But that is TUI Cruises, and a company that we can't book at this point in this country yet. Marella Discovery was originally constructed in 1995 as Splendor of the Seas for Royal Caribbean and was sold to TUI in 2016. The ship sailed briefly as TUI Discovery before being rebranded as Marella Discovery in 2017. On November 5th, the Discovery will depart Port Canaveral on an 11-night repositioning sailing to Bridgetown, Barbados, with calls in Miami, New Orleans, and Amber Cove. The ship will remain home ported in Bridgetown until May of 2024. All right. The second story today American Cruise Line has revealed the Great United States, the longest ever domestic cruise itinerary, setting sail between August and October 2024 between Portland, Oregon and New York City, spanning 60 days and covering 20 states across all 4 time zones in the continental U.S. This one-of-a-kind cruise adventure celebrates America's rich history and nautical beauty as the nation approaches its 250th anniversary of independence. Starting in the Pacific coast and ending in the Atlantic and New York City, the Great United States Cruise will take guests on a journey through 4 major rivers and some of the most picturesque coastlines in the country. The experience culminates in New York Harbor with a view of Statue of Liberty from the ship on the final day. The first Great United States Cruise sails from Portland on August 14th, 2024, and ends in New York on October 14th, 2024. The price per person is a little steep, ranges from $51,000 to $77,000. For that price, guests receive an American Cruise Line's jacket, gear pack, cruise hotel stay, all flights, hotels between cruise segments, daily excursions and entertainment, all meals and beverages, and Wi-Fi throughout. On top of that, all tips and gratuities and port charges are also included. You know, folks, a lot of us have not been on a river cruise, especially those of us that are mobility challenged. These ships have handicap accessible accommodations now. So that might open this to a lot of us that have never been able to do river cruises like in Europe. All right, the third story today, folks, has to deal with the Carnival Valor. It was contacted by United States Coast Guard a little after 7 a.m. yesterday, alerting the cruise ship to a vessel taking on water about 386 miles offshore in Alabama. The vessel in distress was a 44-foot recreational boat, Snail Mail, with 3 boaters on board, and had activated emergency gear on board to signal its condition. A rescue boat, one of the cruise ship's lifeboats, was launched, and the 3 boaters, all males from Honduras, were safely taken aboard and transferred to the cruise ship. They have received appropriate medical care, food, and water, and are reported in good condition. Because the rescued boaters were taken aboard during a day at sea, they will remain on board the Valor until the ship called on Costa Mayo on yesterday, actually. The ship is scheduled to be in port from 1 to 8, during which time the boaters would be transferred to the appropriate authorities. And of course, the Valor is home ported in Louisiana year-round now, offering 4- and 5-night Western Caribbean cruises. And the final story today, folks, if you're planning ahead for summer trips this year, for those leaving the country, might need to make some extra preparation. The U.S. passport wait times have increased once again. Routine processing of a U.S. passport application will now take 10 to 13 weeks, the State Department said in a news release over the weekend. Expedited service, meanwhile, will take 7 to 9 weeks. The processing times apply to new applications on March 24th or later. Processing times had risen to between 8 and 11 weeks for routine service and 5 to 7 weeks for expedited service earlier this year, though they are still below levels seen during COVID, when travelers could expect to wait 4 months for routine service. All right, guys, that's, again, it was a fairly light news day. So let's hop over and see who is with us in the chat room. All right. Yo, 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 Brooklyn in the house. Hey, Eddie. Hot Air Tom is with us. Nikki's here. Hi, Nick. Mike's with us. Good morning, Mike. It's Roger's birthday. He went to test drive a new car. Wow. That would be a nice birthday gift. Hi, Nikki. We are passing you on the morning of April 14th. Sorry, no time to visit. We need to be at Penny's drop boarding place at noon so we can continue to West Palm Beach. Have Brightline tickets for a late afternoon train to Miami. Sonny's with us. Hi, Sonny down in Mississippi. I hope you guys are slowly getting things back together in Mississippi, Sonny. Nikki says she'll wave when you go by. Hot Air Tom. Hot Air says I can call as we pass. That'd be cool. We are having a combined NCL escape day out of Miami and then a stay in the Holiday Inn Club Resort in Port Canaveral. We'll be in Port Canaveral until May the 4th. Hey, Chillie, so glad you got the jobs and had a wonderful recovery. Oh, the jabs. Yeah, I'm sorry, I misread that. The jabs. This has been as shocking in the good direction as it was in the bad direction. Katie's with us. Hi, Katie. Glad to see you're doing better. Yeah, me too, Katie. And I hope you came home with just a cold. It's a cruise life, sounding much better. Oh boy, you should see it from this size. It is so much better today. Saying hi to Eddie. We get around. Yes, you do, just like me. Morning, Katie. And good morning. It's a cruise life. You got it right, Chillie, Hawaii 5-0. Book 'em, Dano. In the new remake, Dano. I hated that line. Yeah, it was a good line. But I agree. I like the new Hawaii 5-0. So, MC's with us. Glad you're doing better, Chillie. Thank you, MC. MC, that's from Parts Unknown, of course. I always appreciate it, and I appreciate each and every one of you guys that have been through this past week, 10 days with me. It's not been easy, but we're back. And it's, I feel certain that come tomorrow, I will be out of quarantine. I can go back to seeing my family again, and I will be able to start planning for the May 1st cruise that Mr. Bucket List and I are going to host. That's next on my agenda, and I will be happy to get ready for that one. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. As always, I certainly do appreciate each and every one of you guys being with me. This is going to be an active month now to get things back and on the right track. And looking forward to my first hosting efforts, followed quickly by a second hosting efforts to Alaska on August the 30th. It's going to be an exciting year for me. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. I'll be back same time, same channel tomorrow. Hopefully out of quarantine. Well, I'll be out of quarantine by the end of the day tomorrow, but we'll be well on our way during the day. So that's up for tomorrow. And then Thursday, we'll have the Cruise Amigos. Thursday back closer to normal than it was last week. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. As always, folks, stay safe, stay healthy, think about cruising, and we'll all get together one day soon on the high seas. Love you guys, each and every one of you. Have a fantastic day. Later, y'all.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you'd like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.